All right, happy Friday, or if you're in a different time, I don't know if there's anywhere else in the world that's actually. Anyways, doing great this Friday. We got a fun show today. We're going to be going over ArchTitus again, but we've taken, I think it's around 250 something commits and done a complete rework. Now, many of these commits were not done by me, so I'm not going to take credit for all those hard work. One specific contributor I was extremely impressed with, so much so I dedicated a whole video tomorrow basically going over that. But today I want to test out all the different options that have appeared in ArchTitus and also get some feedback from y'all. See how everything is going. See lots of familiar folks in here. Johanna's, Aram, how you doing? Oh man, I tell you, it's been great. I've actually been streaming a whole bunch on Twitch doing League of Legends. Funny enough, I know that's like a toxic game, but man, I have just been enjoying myself over there. So I've almost been on vacation, so to speak, is my way of taking a vacation at least. Good evening. All right. Greetings from Germany. All right, Chris. All right, well, let's get going. Let's get on the desktop, get right into it. I know I'm a bit early today. It's very unlike me. But let's get going. I'm going to just go ahead and start off with a new virtual machine, and we're going to boot into Arch Linux installer. I'm still using Hyper-V in Windows 11, mainly because I've been gaming a lot on this machine. So don't hold it against me. Even though I know some will. That's all good. All right, so we're going to create a new Arch Linux one. And let me see if I think I might already have some Arch stuff in there. Let's just wipe some of this stuff out. Trash. And let's just trash all this too. All right, clean that up. Install it right now. We're going to go right into our installation image and finish. Let's start that bad. Wait. We can't do it just yet. Let's fix this up. It's going to be slower than molasses with one CPU. That's no good. All right, let's do this. I am. Arch time, and do I have scaling on this? Oh, you know what? I don't. Man, tell you what. I don't have a Discord server. I had one at one time, but it was a little problematic, let's just say. Dealing with people sometimes just is the worst. So I think like people started talking politics and other stuff over there, and I was just like, oh, I just can't. I don't have it in me. So I was just like, oh, let's just shut this down. So that's what it ended up killing the Discord server. If we could just talk technology in one spot, I totally could just do that. That would be cool. But inevitably, someone always has to ruin it for the rest of us. All right, this is not great. I think I have a dual boot, but I haven't booted into that in a minute. Yeah, I think we'll just go into the dual boot. 1 second here. We're going to give it a little restart. Probably go into our Linux install. The main issue here is I didn't want to use VirtualBox for obvious reasons, performance being one of them. The second is Hyper-V scaling. I don't think I guess I could look at the scaling a little bit more. I think let me give, I'm going to force myself to use Hyper-V for a minute here. I just love to default back to, oh gosh. Love to default back to going into QEMU because I love QEMU and Linux and stuff. So I probably am just going to work on this a little bit. Let's see if we can't do some scaling in Hyper-V. I'm not sure, as I don't typically in Hyper-V. Yeah, there's a zoom level. That's kind of jank. I guess zoom would work. All right, we can do that, I guess. I usually just do full screen mode, but we could do a zoom level and just... Yeah. Alright, let's do that. Let's do that. I'm forcing myself to basically use Windows 11. I know, some people are like, but why? It's what a lot of folks use, so... Alright, let's scale this up a bit. I guess we go like 150. You might be able to get away with 200? Might be able to do that. Let's see. If we go full screen, yeah. That sucks. Custom. Let's go 175. All right, maybe 160 will be the sweet spot here. This is so... all right. Good enough. And I'll adjust the console font here too. So first off, to run ArchTitus, we're gonna do install git. So we're just gonna do a pacman. And this is gonna bugging me. Let's go personalization. No. Come on. Where is background? Solid color. Yeah. Go with like a dark gray. That's easy on the eyes. All right. And I'll blow this up here in a second. All right, getting going. So first thing we do is install git with an update. SY, the Y on it actually updates the databases before trying to install git. That's why we do the SY. Then we just do a git clone, and we're going to clone our project, Chris Titus Tech, ArchTitus. We'll install all of that. CD for change directory into ArchTitus, and then just a /arch. But before we launch into this script, all I've done is download it from a git clone. We'll do a listing, and it's all been repackaged, and the whole structure's been completely revamped and rechanged. A guy named Austin, he's done a ton of commits on ArchTitus, and I've been following him because he's just really good. Better than me, I would say, when it comes to fixing up a lot of these scripts. So, I did not do this. But basically what he did, let's do a listing of each directory. So the listing of the configs directory, it's basically everything that's going to get pushed into our install. And then if we do a listing of our package files, we now have options to install whatever desktop environment we want. And you can edit these text files to add any packages that you might want, or maybe remove packages you don't like from here. And then we also have the scripts directory, which is like the core of it. This is where most everything was dropped in the root before. And basically, each section is kind of done out. Now, I actually did most of these files, but each section is kind of done at different stages. The pre-installed, make sure all the dependencies and everything's set up in the environment. The setup is the root install of the basic boot partition. And then the user setup is actually logged in as the user and done some basic packages for the user and customizations, and then post setup is just some cleanup and stuff. So that's the gist of it. Startup script is usually what is done on startup, hence the name. So that's the gist of it. Let's do a basic install of KDE right now, and I'll be fielding questions from chat as this installs because it's pretty much completely automated. So let's go ArchTitus. We're gonna do this. This is UEFI. It should install just fine on both UEFI and Legacy. We did have some issues. I know it was broken for about a month or so as all these commits were being worked on, and that's one of the things with this is we did a lot. So let's choose KDE. That's usually what I like to do. You can choose your AUR helper now. Typically Paru or Yay. A lot of people say Paru. I like Yay still, but let's install Paru. The full featured is basically all the customizations I do and do on a basic thing. If you want to go minimal here, it only installs the select few KDE to get you going. Pretty minimal install. We're going to go full because this puts all my customizations in, and then install it onto here. This is actually not an SSD. This is just regular. And we'll do BetterFS as that's my file system of choice. Read that. That was the time zone setup. Now you can set different keyboard layout. So if you're in a foreign country or you're not in the States here, you can easily select your country and select US. Everything's front loaded. So that's pretty much the only interaction that is going to happen in this entire script. Also, instead of typing all that out now, after you launch the script, everything is done basically in the background for you, and you can just arrow over to the options you need, so there's no more having to type anything in. A lot less errors happen that way. So that's where all these commits came in, and now it'll go through and do this. I'll show you the Git real fast of this. ArchTitus, the commits that have kind of gone through. Kleinman is actually Austin. He's the one that did a lot of these different commits, set up a lot of new stuff, which is pretty darn cool. So he went kind of crazy here. A lot of these commits were done to test, and I was actually really impressed with them. I went ahead and merged everything in and basically wiped out the main branch because of how much was changed in here. When I said it's the largest commit I've ever done, I wasn't lying, because there was a lot of commits from a whole bunch of people going over. I think it was about 2 months of commits from test to the main project here to revamp it. So pretty cool stuff. Let's let that go in the background, and I'll hit some questions up here. Running window view zoom. Yeah, Hyper-V kind of sucks compared to QEMU. It's still fast, though. I mean, I think this install, it's a huge install. I think on QEMU, this was taking about 25 minutes or so. I bet in Hyper-V, it'll probably be 15 minutes. So Hyper-V is a Type 1 hypervisor. But yeah, Austin is total pog, man. He's awesome. But let's see if it works. But I'm pretty sure it will. I've done this test. I did a video on it. But I think I did the minimal install in the video. We'll do the minimal install after this. How do you make color ASCII arts? Are you talking about like how Arch is there? I actually think I just used the website. Like the biggest thing is with Arch is just commits and also ASCII art and all this other stuff. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. That's the biggest thing I can tell folks. Whatever problem you're having on your computer, just know someone else has already had that problem. Whatever you're trying to solve, someone's probably already solved it. So it's really getting down to your ability to search. And a lot of these things that I'm showing you today, a lot of it was just me searching and finding that knowledge and then applying it to this one project, or someone doing a commit for me. But there's an actual ASCII art. Why I say all that is there's an actual ASCII art create. Yeah, text to ASCII art. I think something like this. So then what you can do, I think version 2 or 3, you can change, kind of figure out which one you like. And I think we could kind of go through. But you can kind of get one that you're like, ooh, you know what? I like that. And then you like name your project Titus or whatever it might be. And then you just take this, select and copy. Done. Paste that into your bash file, and that's it. So don't think you have to sit there and meticulously do all of that. You don't. It just, yeah. you can just do something like this and do that. I think I used 3D ASCII. I think I was using ANSI, Shadow, Bloody. But you can do all kinds of cool little ASCII arts here. You think of it up, it can be done. It already has been done. So, again, don't try to reinvent the wheel. If you're spending like more than 5 minutes to do something like that, look up what's going on before you do that. Did I time this? Did we start at what, a couple minutes ago? I'm curious to see. We'll just say we started at like 9 for the install. Should finish by probably 9:20, I'd say. Would you suggest using ArchTitus for my first install? Let's see here. Yeah, I think for a first-time Arch, you totally can. I need to test. I haven't tested every single little option in here yet because I did do a lot of commits. I want to do a couple more tests today. I just wanted to make sure we run through a couple of these before I say yes to that. But yeah, I do recommend doing Arch the hard way at least once, just so if you want to learn Linux, that is. It teaches you a lot about the components that make up a Linux install. A lot of people think that distributions are like, you know, a big thing. They're not really. Distributions are just taking pieces of Linux and then putting them together into a distribution. So Arch kind of teaches you what those pieces are when you have to install it, because you have to install each piece yourself as you do Arch. So that's why I say Arch is really good for learning Linux, because it forces you to understand what each piece is. And you know, you got your bootloader you have to install, you have your base packages to make up the system, how that actually works, how that structure, the actual file structure works, and then understanding display managers. Hey, how am I gonna boot into this, you know? And if you're going to go graphics, you obviously need display manager. Also, you need a display render. Are you going to go Wayland or are you going to go Xorg? You're going to want to go to Xorg. Spoiler. But it's neat to look at Wayland versus Xorg. Unless you're like a huge GNOME fan, Wayland's fine. But going past that, then you get into the desktop environment. How are you going to construct this desktop environment? And you get to make all these options when you do a vanilla Arch install. It's going to be awful. You're not going to have a really functional system probably at the end of your first one. You may, but there's going to be like a lot of quirks and little optimizations and things you miss. But that's part of the charm, because then at the end of the day, you have something you made. And I think that's amazing. Is there a BSPWM option? There should be, but no, there's not. I need to add that in. I do have a BSPWM. Debian Titus was actually modeled after that I need to look. Nobara, I don't know that project. I need to check that out. Can you edit the grub resolution to make it look better in Hyper-V? Yeah, you can edit the grub resolution for sure. So typically it's at like this really bonkers resolution. We'll edit it after it boots in here, actually. I think with KDE we don't have to. Maybe we make a BSPWM install. Yeah, we might be able to do that today. It's a good question. What hypervisor is this? This is Hyper-V. If I'm in Windows and I'm in a hypervisor, typically I'll be using Hyper-V. I need to set up a dedicated box for all my VMs. I think I'm going to do that next, and I'm probably going to use Proxmox. Now, a lot of people know that I haven't been a huge fan of Proxmox, mainly because in business, I've never seen Proxmox actually used in business. I've seen like Zen Server and some other oddballs. XCP-ng is a fork of Zen Server. But typically, most things are Hyper-V. these days, or not Hyper-V, but VMware, which VMware at its core is ESXi. Say that 3 times fast. And that's free for the most part, but to really interact with it and have like all the GUI elements like vSphere and all this other stuff, there's all this licensing that goes into VMware. So it's kind of I don't like really talking about VMware or showing VMware very much, even though that's really what's used in most business settings, just because it's so bloody expensive, man. And it's just, yeah, that's the problem. Virtualization is really slow and heavy. It shouldn't be. If you do virtualization right, you should lose about 5% maybe. Virtualization's come to a point in our world that there is very, very little loss between a virtualized environment and a physical environment. So if it's slow and heavy, that's on you. Your configuration's bad. The branch server for ArchTitus is gone, but we did add a server install. I'll do the server install after this. This is a full-blown KDE install. We'll do the server install. And I wanted to package everything into the main branch again. We still have a test branch to test out new features, but for the most part, we should be good here. Oh yeah, we already covered that. Yes. After this stream. Which is the best way for Windows and Linux use in a PC? It depends on what you're doing. I mean, best for Windows, obviously, if you're gaming a bunch. I've been gaming a whole bunch. At the start of the stream, I said, hey, I'm over on Twitch doing a lot of League of Legends streams, just kind of having fun, kind of like, it's like my vacation. And for Linux, it's really good for productivity. Like when I started this stream, I wanted to boot into my Linux install because I really prefer QEMU and its setup. I think it just does a lot better job when it comes to virtualization and other things. It's just a better experience than obviously Hyper-V. We were like sitting here and going, how are we going to blow this up? And I was like, oh, I guess we can do like a Zoom. And I ended up doing like a custom Zoom level, and it's a bit jank. Let's just say that. So Windows is good for some stuff. Linux is good for other stuff. Again, right tool for the right job. I'm a big proponent of that. So that's why. But I am trying to use Windows a lot more lately. Yeah. And in most of my expertise also, you know, I should probably touch on this a little bit, but I'm known as the Linux guy on the YouTube circuit, but it's kind of funny because, again, most of my professional certifications and experience comes solely as Windows. In professional environments, I was known as the Windows Server guy because, you know, I have my MCITP back in 2008. I have enterprise administration. I've seen Active Directory dating back to Windows 2000 server, Windows 2003, SBS, 2008, R2, all of that to present day. And I've seen a lot of different things, and I know Windows inside and out. And I'd say I know Windows better than I know Linux. Even though Linux, I've really poured myself in because of YouTube to really, really understand it a lot better and get a really good understanding of a lot more of the desktop side of Linux, which has been great. But whenever I was working with Linux before YouTube, it was more in the networking side of things, and also in the let's see, probably telephony side too. Like I remember setting up a ton of CentOS boxes for FEMA, ATF. I did Facebook. I did a lot of different things doing telephony boxes for remote sites, AT&T as well. So yeah, I built a lot of that. Yeah, even some of an oddball one. I actually had one that got put in a nuclear power plant. because it was a satellite backup of a phone system. So, and I built the telephony on the back end. So, a little bit odd. I have like this weird resume of different stuff, but yeah, I don't know how I went down a rabbit hole there. I need to drink some more caffeine here. Why not Unraid OS? Unraid's a Type 2. It's not. I'm not a huge fan of Unraid. I think it's a noob's version of virtualization, and I don't really like it. It's like a weird hybrid between a Type 1 and Type 2. It's a Type 2 at the end of the day, but it's still it's fine for people that aren't professionals. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm trying not to be disparaging in my comments. I think what Unraid is amazing, and for a home user, it could be very good. But I don't particularly enjoy Unraid. I need to probably give it another fair shake. It has been many years before I've tried it. So, you know, don't take that as gospel there. It's just, when I did try Unraid, I was like, ugh. Why wouldn't you just use a Type 1 hypervisor, you know? Do like a XCP-ng or an ESXi install, or hell, even Hyper-V has probably better performance. So that's why I'm not a huge fan. It's a good question, though. A lot of good questions. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that was the Unraid OS. So I can call you Graybeard. Good question, Randy. As soon as my wife lets me, let's just say that. I did grow a beard for a little bit there, and man, I'm full white beard for sure. Yeah, I look ancient when I do that, but I might. For security testing, which Linux would you recommend? I mean, pretty much the de facto standard for a lot of security distros is Kali Linux. Most of the built-in tools, I've even installed Kali when I wanted to just cheese like Windows 7 users and like hack into their boxes. I should do a Windows 7 video going over that, where I'm doing Windows 7 and just install Kali Linux to hack into that Windows 7 box, because it installs, there's Metasploit and there's all these documented CVEs to where a script kiddie basically can hack into Windows 7, which is really good. Oh, BlueStacks. No, dude, don't use BlueStacks. That's just straight up malware at this point. I would recommend just emulating. I'm trying to think of. You can actually download an Android image. I actually made a video about this. You can use any like QEMU. You could use VirtualBox. You can use Hyper-V. You can use a lot of different things to install Android directly on a virtualization. But BlueStacks is awful. If you're gonna use BlueStacks, I remember back in the day. Here's a fun little project. BlueStacks root. I think. Let's see if there's a. Create a new BlueStacks instance. You root your BlueStacks, and then if you root it, remove all of the BlueStacks data. So something like this, if you're going to do it, because BlueStacks has, like I said, it's almost malware because there's so much crap that comes into BlueStacks that makes it extremely slow. But something like this, look up rooting BlueStacks, follow this kind of guide. There used to be a lot easier way. There was open source projects that would do it for you, but I think all those got shut down. And yeah, BlueStacks is a little bit funky in that manner. Let's see what else we got. Oh, awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, Hyper-V is a bit clunky, but once you get used to it, getting a type 1 hypervisor does make a massive performance difference, especially if you set it up properly. Hyper-V is a special case where some people are like, it's so slow, because out of the box, Windows does a terrible job with optimizing it. But once you do optimize Hyper-V, it will be faster than pretty much every hypervisor out there except maybe ESXi. So there you go. This install took about 20 minutes, so that was actually a bit faster than our QEMU version of it. I should probably do like a speed test. So let's do a reboot and see what we get on startup here. We'll do Arch Linux. And I don't remember if we had, I think a Plymouth screen was added. Pretty minimal. So let's clear this message out so you guys can see the initial boot. And we'll see how this goes. So this is the new install of it. And it should probably be in 20. Yeah, there we go. So what we'll probably do here, let's just come into here, log into our user, make sure everything's set up properly, which it should be. I'll probably go full screen here and remove the scaling once we set our resolution. Now, somebody asked me about Hyper-V grub scaling. Instead of setting the resolution through the display manager in KDE, let's set it through grub. I know it's a little bit more complicated method of doing it than just launching into display settings, but I think it'll be better for folks just to see that, because you might be using like a window manager or something that doesn't have that back end of KDE that can interface with this properly. So let's launch into like console probably. Let's go console. That's our little terminal. And what is that? Control plus, I think. Let's add that up. Still have a lot of customizations to do. We'll do like a sudo vim. Oh, you know what? Probably need to install vim. Yes. Oh, no, vim was already installed. Oops. Oh, well. Sudo vim etc. Oh, wait. Oh, what happened? Okay. Yeah, I looked over and I was like, oh, can you see my screen? Default grub. And then whenever you make a changes to grub, this is the file you want. If you don't want to use this and you want like a GUI, you could use grub customizer. That's also an option. So we're going to come to the end of the line here. And I want to say it was video equals Hyper-V underscore FB for frame buffer colon 1920 by 1080. That should be the right syntax if I'm remembering correctly. And then we should just do a sudo update grub. If you get an update grub not found because the alias doesn't exist, there's a make config, which if we look at the Arch wiki, we can actually set that alias. A lot of people don't even realize in Debian-based systems, update-grub just runs this command. Where is the install guide? Here we go. And if we look at grub, where is that? chroot bootloader. Make init. Where's grub at? The grub installation. There's grub install, but there should be like a make grub, and I can't remember the command. It's a little early for me. Here we go. Grub make config output. So you go grub -mk config -o boot grub cfg. So let's do that. So we'll do sudo grub mk config -o for output boot grub and then I think it's grub.config. Alrighty. So that should get us everything we need. that is the same as doing grub or update dash grub, I think it was, or grub update. I can't remember the exact file, but yeah. Okay, there we go. But anyways, same as upgrade grub. So let's just do a sudo reboot. Get that going. And you'll notice this is pretty snappy for being a virtual environment. With only 6 processors, I think I put 10 gigs of memory in it, so it should have plenty. But I don't think it took. Interesting. It might be the display manager that's causing that. What we could do is change SDDM, which is what this is using. Let's do... Trying to think of where we would set that. I think SDDM will have a config file. I haven't manually set SDDM up in a while. Yeah, for ArchTitus, I do have like some VM files set up on my website for $5, but you don't need that. You can just do it directly like I showed here with the git clone. That's just for people just to say, hey, thanks for making the project. Here's $5 kind of thing. Like every single download I have on my website, you can create yourself. I didn't want to put something behind a paywall, but at the same time, some people are like, hey, I'd like to donate. And I was like, well, if you donate, I kind of want to give you something. So it's kind of a cool way of honoring that. Let's just set it here. That should work in almost every instance. Let's do a base install next. Let's just go full screen with this. We'll do a base install next of the minimal environment. But you'll see here, this works pretty good. You got good responsiveness. We got all the basic configs that I use. We have Brave automatically installed here, which is usually the browser of choice for me. And yeah, that's pretty good. So there we go. So that's the first install of ArchTitus. Let's wipe this out and we'll just shut this down and go with a different version now. Let's do the minimal server install because that was a branch that got terminated, and test it out. Let's create a new virtual machine. And we'll just call this one Arch Minimal. This one's not going to have anything. And we'll try the grub Hyper-V frame buffer on the like a BSPWM install on a minimal. I think that'd be a kind of a cool deal. I probably should make a project going specifically over that, but I'll probably just integrate it into ArchTitus. Why not? We'll do Arch Minimal, select our ISO, and finish on that. And we'll connect. Oh, before we do that though, I keep forgetting to do this. I wish I could just set this. Whenever you do Gen 2, it always wants to enable Gen secure boot. And we'll set the processor count. All right, now we're good. Let's go zoom level. Yeah, we're at the custom still. And we'll do the install, but this time let's do a server. Hey, Ruben. Thank you for all you do. I have 4 computers and we'll be learning about Arch, Debian, RHEL. I have a Librem 4. Oh, with cubes, man. That's awesome, man. Oh, I didn't show your message when I click on my little thing here, but that's good to hear, Ruben. Appreciate the joining the members too. That's awesome. Yeah, Cubes is interesting. I need to revisit Cubes. That's Snowden's recommended OS of choice. Chris, where can I subs to your OnlyFans? Oh, man. That's funny. It sounds like you have a cold. Is that so? A little bit. Here in Texas, it's been fluctuating. So one day it'll be 70 Fahrenheit or 30 Celsius, however you want to do it. And then today it's about -4 Celsius out and probably in the 20s, I want to say. Let me look at my... What is it right now? Let's see. Come on, weather app. Well, it's cold. Oh, let's see. Is it not going to show? Might take a little bit. I guess my phone's waking up. I always run my phone dead. I'm the worst person in the world to contact. Oh, well. It's like 20 degrees outside. So, with that huge fluctuation, that's typically... I've had a cold for like a month now. All right, now we got our base Arch Linux install. Let's go ahead, start it back up, and this time let's do the minimal install and see how that goes. The cool thing about this is if you do have problems with the install, there's really good logging now. So we're going to install and then go through some of these, and if we do have problems, we can easily trace that back in the log. So, oh, I forgot to clone it. Well, let's go ahead, clone this. We'll CD into that directory, launch the thing, set this up again, and arch minimal. And we're just gonna do the server install this time around. It's not an SSD, better FS, all time zone, and then my keyboard layout. So all that's set up, and now it should install. This should only take about 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. You can set your watch to it because a minimal install should not take long at all. How do you optimize Hyper-V? If you need that, I just last Saturday's video was going over Hyper-V, how to set it up properly, optimize it for using Linux and those types of things. Another thing, if you are using Linux on Hyper-V, I do recommend looking into XRDP optimizations because that's how things are displayed on your screen. So it may seem laggy to you. If it does, typically that means there's an issue with RDP or how it's optimized for RDP. And it's important to know that. Because what you see is not necessarily what's happening in the background. And that's why you would do something like this. When it comes to Hyper-V, it all uses RDP, where like QEMU typically will use like a Spice server, or it'll even use VNC, which is just a different display technology. But on the background, how it's interfacing with your hardware is the actual speed that I care the most about. I'm very much a function over form kind of guy. You know, I don't really care about style so much. I care more about the actual function that it's serving. Why is better FS better? Well, I don't think it's better. It's just different. It's a different file system. I really like it because you can do what's called atomic swaps in snapshots, where if you run into a problem, you could just revert back to a snapshot, and to revert back to another snapshot, it would take milliseconds, not even 1 second. You know, you just say restore, and then instantaneous, you're back to exactly how your file system was when that when that transpired. So that's why I like BetterFS. Performance wise, not the best probably. XFS or FS2F or whatever that, I'm drawing a blank on that other one, but those typically are the highest performing file systems. So if you're looking for performance, XFS is pretty solid for just pure speed and performance. A lot of people default to probably ext4, which ext4 is pretty long in the tooth these days, so I rarely use it anymore. 3 minutes and 21 seconds for that install. So let's go ahead and give it a reboot. And we should get, oh no. Sad face. I don't think it properly partitioned. So we have our first bug of the day. Because this is booting directly back from the install media. And if we look here, we have our mounts right there, SDA2, SDA3. So usually we'd, how this is structured, usually you would do a mount of those, which I'll have to look back on how those were partitioned out. Let's rerun that script again though. Let's, I don't even have git installed, do I? Oh no, I do, okay. Git clone. Because this is the install media. Let's try it with ext4 and see if we still have the same problem. Oh, okay. Man. Alrighty. That's a bummer. But that's what happens on live streams. Just the unexpected happens and you just gotta go with it. And you can learn something too from it. Sometimes I hate YouTube videos because it only shows the best of everything that happens. Where a live stream, it actually shows you real world usage, where the problems that you have get done. So we're gonna rerun this time, Arch minimal, and we're gonna do server again, and this time we're gonna use ext4. It's the oldest, but why I didn't want to just, I could have mounted that with BetterFS, but BetterFS is a little bit trickier to do chroot on just because it uses subvols and ext4 doesn't. So I kind of like ext4 for troubleshooting a little bit better. And I want to also see if this fails on ext4 as well, or if it's maybe just a BetterFS problem. And since the install only takes 3 minutes, you might as well just wipe it out. Support a dual boot setup. I like to do, but I have 2 other partitions I like to keep. I don't really plan on doing that just because I know when it comes to dealing with partition tables, I don't want to be responsible for losing someone's data. And I always say if you're going to be messing around with this stuff, you should have a dedicated hard drive for it. And if you don't use a dedicated hard drive for it, I don't recommend a dual boot setup on a single drive. It's a recipe for disaster any way you do it. Even if it's like a mainline distro like Ubuntu, it's still a recipe for disaster and something that I just will never support, mainly because of the problems that will come with it. What options did you use there, Ty? I'd be interested in that. You did for sure. Oh man. But yeah, when it comes to dual boot, like let's say you can't afford, or let's just say you're on like a laptop and you can't do a secondary hard drive internally, I would recommend either running like an external like USB 3 drive or a USB flash drive that's USB 3 on a USB 3 port, and just install it directly to that drive. You know, I think that's a good option for those that want to do a dual boot setup without compromising with messing with the partition table. So that's one big thing. And if I do ever decide to change my mind on this, there will be warnings plastered all over the place about possible for data loss. Oh, Chrome OS Flex. Yeah, man. I'm excited about it, actually. I'm one of the big... I like Chrome OS for what it is. And I hate, you know, that... I made a video that's like, hey, Chrome OS is a underappreciated masterpiece. Because basically, Chrome OS is Gen 2 Linux, by the way, as the base install, I believe. And then they just kind of customized it. And the thing about... see, look, AXT4 did take about 20 seconds longer. But Chrome OS is really good for basic usage, but you can also do a lot more with Chrome OS than people know. And that's why I made a whole series of videos going over all the different things you can do in Chrome OS by utilizing the fact that it's a Linux base. And it's really interesting to see kind of some of the stuff they're doing with it, specifically when it comes to containers and passing through like video. They're getting really good at it. Google's doing some really cool stuff, and I really hate the coverage. Like I like to give everybody a fair shake, even if it is Google. And I know it's real popular. Most YouTubers are just like, oh, it's just an operating system that you can browse Google Chrome on. And I'm like, man, it could be so much more than that. And there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of opportunity to basically make a better operating system, because Chrome OS has a lot of things going for it. It has amazing power management. It has an extremely affordable price point, and there's a lot of different things with Chrome OS I do like, but we'll see what the next couple years do. But I think Chrome OS Flex is a good thing overall. Can I add a gaming option for setup that installs no hang? I haven't used no hang. CPU management version, Steam tweaks, and Linux Zen kernel. You know, I haven't used practically any. I've used Linux Zen, and I think I've used Steam tweaks as well. But I don't think I've used the CPU management or the memory management add-on for no hang. That's definitely something I'm going to look into, Fallen Shadow. Thanks for the comment. Speaking of which, let's let me put that down in my notes here. Let's go. No hang. And yeah. So Steam tweaks. All right. Good to know. All right, put that down. Let's give this a reboot. But yeah, that's a good comment. I love seeing new packages I haven't done before. Minimum requirements for ArchTitus. If you do the server install, a potato can run that. Seriously. Still, so there's a problem with... Alright. There's definitely a problem with the installer for the server branch. I have to look into what is going on there. It is not installing Grub properly, it looks like. So let's dive in. We'll do a LSB OK. We got our partitions. So the first thing we do is mount these partitions. We're going to mount dev SDA3 to MNT. And then we're going to mount dev SDA2, which is the 300 meg partition, to MNT boot. With those mounted, we can do arch chroot MN2 MNT. this should be our install. We have all the files there. Let's look at our boot directory. We have the images created here. We have grub. Grub install, I guess, didn't happen. Maybe. Huh. Grub dash install. Let's see what happens. Okay. Grub dash install dash help. So I want to say we have to do EFI directory equals boot. And let's see if that grabs the proper thing. We should never have to force a grub install. It should just say installation succeeded, and then on reboot it should pull up. So I'm doing a basic manual install of the bootloader on Arch Linux right now. Let's see if this works. And if not, then we'll have to look at our install script, see what happened. Oh, okay. So if we do a pacman s EFI boot manager, I gotcha. EFI boot manager should be in the base packages. So now if we do this, it should say installation succeeded, and then we should have our functional boot here. So it should, I thought that was in the script, and maybe during some of the commits someone moved that around and it missed out on the thing. We can do a commit right here. No error reported, installation finished. So then if we exit the chroot, we'll do a umount all to do that, and then just do a reboot. Yeah. There's our minimal. There's our minimal install. So it was missing a EFI boot manager package on the minimal install. If we log in here, let's do a sudo pacman s neofetch, and then sudo. Oh, actually, let's just do neofetch. So we have a functional boot system with 179 packages. It is utilizing 133 megabytes of memory. So when someone asks what's the minimal install you can do, this is about as minimal as you can possibly get on any operating system out there. 133 megs of memory. And let's see, how much disk space are we using? Let's do disk-free human. We are using 2.2 gigs, so 2200 megabytes. So roughly 2 gigs of hard disk space and 133 megs of memory, which, to put that into perspective, pretty much everything made in the last 2 decades has that kind of power. So even an older computer could run this. But let's fix that. Alpine is smaller. I still need to check out Alpine Linux. I don't think I have yet. Hey, Michael. Sparky, how you doing? Noob detected. Good to see you guys in chat. Good morning. So let's fix this bug. EFI boot manager did not get installed on the minimal install of it. If we look through our packages here, and I think I have this. Let's fetch origin. Do we have any polls? Yeah, we have some new polls. Let's poll that request. And then we're going to just open up this project. This is the Windows toolbox, obviously I've been working on for the Windows folks out there. But we're going to pull up ArchTitus now. And where's minimal? Oh, we don't have minimal here. That's interesting. Okay. So if we look at our scripts, during the setup process, I think let's look at some of the new additions that were made. Might be on pre-install, actually. We could put it in here. See, this is where the grub install happens. This grub install happens. So what this if statement is saying, just to kind of break this down, let me blow that up a little bit. But so this is when the grub installer happens for BIOS. As you see, grub BIOS installer. This if statement is saying, hey, if the directory sys firmware EFI does not exist, then go ahead and run this command. And this directory will exist if you're doing a UEFI boot. If it doesn't exist, then you're doing BIOS, or also known as legacy boot. This is some swap files, and low memory systems, less than 8 gigs, will need to probably utilize a swap file. So that's what that does. I think what we'll do here is we're gonna do else, and we're gonna do, now we haven't done a chroot or anything, so we're gonna do another pack strap. We'll do a pack strap of MNT. We're gonna grab these triggers right here. EFI, boot, manager, and we'll put that in. So we want to keep this, I mean, this is really being picky here, but I like to keep it as clean as possible. So if you are doing a BIOS legacy boot, you're not just needlessly installing EFI boot manager package. So what this does is, if it installs here, cool. If not, it'll go ahead and pack strap EFI boot manager in a perfect world. Let's go ahead, save this out, and check this out in test branch is where I'll submit this for the minimal install. So we'll have this. Let's switch to test branch. Let's bring the changes to test. Update EFI minimal fix. Fixes UEFI installs for minimal server. Actually, we'll put for server install. EFI server fix. And we'll commit this to test. So this is how I'm getting better with GitHub, and this is how I'm testing out my changes as I go. So we just discovered that, hey, this package manager is not getting installed on a UEFI boot. So what we'll do is come back into our Arch Linux here. Let's just power off. Sudo power off. And what we'll do is change the settings. I'm gonna boot into this once more. Where's the boot setting? Boot from file. Let's move that up a little bit. We'll power this back on, and now we should get our EFI boot. All right, cool. So now we're booting back to installation media, and now we're going to test this commit out that we just did, and we should have a functional system on server boot by adding this. I've never done a double pack strap like this. I could just add this one package up here, but again, I'd like to keep it as clean as possible. If this doesn't work, then I'm just going to scrap this whole line with the else statement, and then just put the EFI boot manager right here. I mean, it frankly wouldn't matter. This would probably be a little easier, but I'd like to keep it, again, as clean as possible. So So let's go pacman sy git. And this time the git clone is going to change a bit here. So we're going to do a branch for this, because you never want to commit your changes. You don't want to just change a line of code and then be like committing it to I think there's a good meme actually I'm thinking of. You know, I don't always test my changes, but when I do, I test them in production. Don't be that guy. So we're going to do a git clone, and we're going to go test branch -b test branch, and then we'll do github.com Titus tech ArchTitus. All right, and now we've done that, and we'll launch into here, and we'll change that. Oops, a little too fast. Arch server install that. No, better FS, sure, we can test that. Time zone and keyboard makeup. All right, here we go. And then we just wait about 3 minutes for this install, and we should be gravy. Where do I buy bits? Oh, I think that's a Twitch thing. Linus Titus Maximus. Oh man, that's funny. More videos on Linux backup. Yeah, I need to do a video on Snapper. That's what I've kind of moved on to. I've done a lot of videos on time shift, but Snapper's what most people are using these days, and it's hard. It can be a little bit tricky to set up, but once set up, it works pretty good. I think my KDE base install has Snapper working with everything. If you do a better FS install, it should install Snapper and all the packages. We can take a look at Snapper after this. Soft trolling, yeah. Yeah, George. Yeah, time shift's also a good one too. Time shift is like very easy to set up if you use the rsync form. The better FS setup for time shift's a little bit more complex because it's looking for a subvol with the @ symbol, and I don't like that setup too much. And if you do time shift better FS snapshots with your home directory, I think it has to be labeled -home for the subvolume as well. And it's a little limiting. I don't like the fact that we can't set that up. Linux Mint or Ubuntu? I would say, if you have to ask, Linux Mint. I think Linux Mint does a better job. Ubuntu's just become so bloated for the regular install. Their reliance on Snap is dragging the whole operating system down. Snaps are slow. I don't care how you slice and dice it. It's just snaps are slower than regular installs, and Linux Mint doesn't even use snaps. It's not to say snaps are like completely worthless. I mean, it's nice when nothing else works, you have something, but it should be a last resort, not a first resort, especially since you're sacrificing performance. And then, you know, obviously you could get into the politics behind it with their server being a bit closed source. All right, so now we're down to 3 minutes, 19 seconds for a full system install for a server. Now reboot, we should get our EFI. Boom. Bug smashed. We can go ahead and do a pull request and push this to the main branch. So if we look here. Oh, yeah. Sudo pacman sy and neofetch. Boom. It's kind of funny this time around. Our memory footprint's a little bit bigger. I wonder, does it increase? Decrease? Interesting. We look. Let's do an HTOP real fast just to see. Yeah, I mean, it's barely even touching anything. That's cool. All right, so minimal install is fixed. Let's go ahead and I'm just walking you through the whole aspect of how a good Git project is maintained, and I'm learning this as I go, so don't think I'm an expert by any means on Git. It's just as I do it, the more I use Git, the more I love it. I get to see why so many people love this. So let's go ahead and create a pull request. Let's look at the files changed. You can see we've added this. We've tested it by using that -b test branch. Everything's gravy here. So now we come back to the pull request here and we merge it into the main branch. Now you can delete the test branch after you merge it, but I like to just leave that test branch open. So when there's another pull request that comes in, I just commit that to the test branch, test out everything. Okay, everything works perfect. Merge it into the main branch, and then everyone will see that that doesn't use the branch test. And that's branches, but also how you can leverage branches to test your projects and test the pull request that you might get. And then you merge those back into the main branch after it's been tested. And I think that's a pretty good practice and something that I basically learned in the last couple months, as maintaining ArchTitus has been probably one of the funnest, is funnest the word? I think so. Experiences I've had. And that was squashing a bug here. So let's sudo power off. And Arch Minimal is done. So now you can use minimal install if you guys want to use that as a base. It installs in about 3 minutes and 20 seconds with 6 virtual processors. And that's not bad. If we did it on an NVMe drive, because that is a spinning platter, NVMe drive, bare metal, I bet we could get down to a 2-minute operating system install, 120 seconds. I bet we could do maybe even less. It just depends on the internet connection. You give me a 1G connection, I bet I could get it down to probably 60 seconds for a full operating system install, which is kind of crazy to say out loud, but that's kind of how that works. Let me catch up with chat a little bit here. Oh, yeah, I was going to do Snapper. Let's take a look. Oh, not Snaps, but Snapper. Snapper is an actual backup thing. I see a lot of snap talk here. I don't like snaps. I think that's been Chris Bitus. Hey, man. Your brother is back. Awesome, man. rsync is solid too. Rsync's just a little slower than using snapshots. There's nothing wrong with rsync. I use rsync at the very least every week. If you factor in all my cron jobs, I probably use it every hour. So that's true. Oh man. Yeah. I saw Linus use Git and I was like, oh boy, that was some cringe. But you know, everybody's got to start somewhere. I'm not gonna discourage someone. Now, if I think he was crapping on Git, but I think it's just because he doesn't understand it. Once he understands it, I think he'd be good. How's Win 11 been for you? Been okay. I think it's stabilized a little bit. I still wouldn't recommend it for production environments. I would still highly recommend, if you're a Windows user, stay on Windows 10 if you want to squeeze out every performance. However, Windows 11's getting to be, I'm going to say it's okay now. And I don't, after debloating it and stuff, it's on par with Windows 10 performance, I'd say. I just like the look of it. That's why I've really went to Windows 11, is because I like the aesthetic. But past the aesthetic, I don't think there's really much push to it. There's some other cool things I've been kind of tinkering with. Specifically, I think WSLG, which is pretty darn cool. I think we could, because most people don't realize Hyper-V's pretty much been, oh geez, it's been a little bit since my last, let me go to desktop. It's been a little bit since my last update to Windows 11. It's been a long time. This is, I think, 1,000 packages. But WSLG is pretty darn slick. Microsoft's pretty much abandoned Hyper-V and just said, we're just going to do WSL and Azure. They still support Hyper-V and Azure environments, but, you know, very, very, very few people will use Azure. It's like the most expensive online VPS provider you can use. Yeah, I saw Chris's fedora. That was actually when I first started, Michael. That was super cringe. I mean, when I first started, I definitely, it's easy to critique something when you first start something, you know? You just want to be like, oh, this is dumb. I don't want to use it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of my Linux challenge videos definitely fall into that same realm, so. It's just how we work as humans, I suppose. Manjaro is awesome. I agree. Manjaro has really matured a lot since the last time I used it. I installed it on a system not too long back, and I was really, really impressed by it. Oh, my late Ion Snapper. Scary. Use the Garuda tool. It's amazing. It's in the AUR. All right, Zero. It's Snapper. I think we set up a full install. We'll boot into our version of Arch here. Let's just continue it. I think Snapper's already installed. There's a Snapper GUI tool, and let's take a look at the snapshots. Maybe we get into some shenanigans and like delete the entire root device and then try and use Snapper to restore it. I don't know if we go to that extreme, but you get the idea. Thanks for the super chat, by the way, Zero. That was super cringe. CTT. Every time. Yeah. Practice makes progress. It's probably one of the best sayings you can do. My favorite sayings, I don't know who said it, I guess me, but you have to fail to succeed. Failure's just part of the process. So failing is a good thing. Encourage it. As long as it's not in production. VirtualBox is slow, but I mean, VirtualBox makes it so darn easy to do so many different things, which is nice. Why don't you use QEMU? QEMU in Windows really sucks. There's no way to sugarcoat that one. But yeah, it's not great. Let's just say that. So your choices are basically VirtualBox, Hyper-V. VMware also works as well. Snapper GUI requires a boot into Arch chroot to restore non-read only. Oh, I gotcha. It looks very pretty. It has a lot of packages right out of the gate, which is great. However, I think it's a bit on the heavy side. But they have some very talented devs over there. How about QEMU in WSL2? Yeah, it's awful. I did try that. I tried Virt Manager and WSL, and it was not good. What is going on over here? Oh, of course, right? As soon as I bring my mouse in, it's like, oh, well, never mind. Oh, wait. I think I'm doing something in the background, too. Is that still doing stuff? Oops, spelled upgrade wrong. Maybe WSL sucked some of the performance out. This seems... Or maybe I got some shenanigans going wrong. All right, let's take WSL out of the equation, shall we? Let's go WSL. If you ever run into WSL issues, issue a shutdown command. That basically shuts down all your WSL instances. Do it through PowerShell. Ooh, look at that. Is there a coincidence there that WSL was running and then all of a sudden I do that? And then it comes back? Maybe. Let's see. I just saw there's a little bit of bleed through there. Can I get rid of the bleed through? Ah, there we go. That solved it. The Garuda tool is called BetterFS Assistant. All right, let's check it out. Yeah, oh yeah, check it out. Michael. Yeah, he set up a Linux forum. So a lot of people wanted a forum to check out Linux and stuff with. By all means, I've signed up over there as well. So definitely check that out. Thanks, Michael, for putting that together. What do you think of the official Arch install script that comes with the default Arch ISOs? It's okay. It's okay. I think there's still a lot of room for improvement there. And kind of what inspired ArchTitus was basically just saying, hey, this still kind of sucks. We can make this better. So that's why I did that. How to make it. You know, I was just thinking about this the other day, Clown. Was installing a clean AMD driver. I don't think we really need a lot of... There's a lot of components to an NVIDIA driver, and AMD's drivers are a little bit cleaner. And I think after this Saturday's video, I might release a video on Wednesday, depending on how it goes, about driver installs in Windows, because too many times people are installing like these monitoring programs that are bloating their system up, whether it's Razer Synapse or some other BS program that just sits there sucking the life and spying on you while also decreasing your performance when you're installing hardware. Logitech's also notorious for this. Not nearly as egregious as the aforementioned Razer, but it's still bad. And I wanted to do just like an all-in-one driver install with no third-party software at all for your entire system. And I think I'll probably do that over the, what is it? Snappy Driver Origin tool, I think is what it's called. This tool is probably what I'll make the video on. This was actually called Snappy Driver Tool before. That's why the weird name. But it got taken over, and I think there was some malware and some other shenanigans in the background, let's say. And then I think the developer, one of the developers of the original Snappy Driver Tool, which was SDT, not SDI, forked it, made it open source and absolutely free, so you can actually verify it. And why open source is a good thing is we know they didn't slide any malicious things in the background. Where I think on Snappy Driver Tool, they did start adding some malicious things. I don't have definitive proof on that. I just know that it is a concern of many people's and why this tool exists now. So if you're wanting to install drivers on Windows, Snappy Driver Installer Origin. Man, he could have thought of a better name. That is just a mouthful. You should have just put Snappy Driver Origin or just Snappy Driver Installer. That would have probably been better. But anyways, it's a common problem with most open source projects is These guys are very, very left-brained and don't think so much of the marketing aspect. But it's a fantastic tool. So check that out if you're interested in Windows and installing drivers. I will try and do a video on this next week, as it was on my to-do list. I just hadn't gotten into it. All right, so let's look at Snappy or the backups here. I think it was. Let's Snapper GUI. And I think, is this configured? Let's go new. Configuration, root, description, cleanup. Huh. Great snapshot. Nope. All right. I'm going to have to look into this. I don't think we're going to use Snapper. Let's see what Zero Linux has to say here. Let's check out that tool. Let's see here. What was that? Garuda Assistant? Let me see. I saw it in chat up here. Where are you at? Well, I swear someone mentioned it, but I'm having a problem reading, I guess, this morning. Well, let's be frank. I have a problem reading every day, but that's neither here nor there. There's a reason I call it SDIO. That's a good one, for sure. BetterFS Assistant. That's it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. So let's look at BetterFS Assistant. Spelled it wrong. Well, Garuda Linux, of course, has a Git project with it. Let's see if it's documented. An application for managing BetterFS subvolumes and Snapper snapshots. All right. I mean, that's about as plain Jane readme as you possibly can get. Not much documentation, so to speak of. Yeah, okay. Let's just install this random application from Garuda. I think Garuda's reputable, so as much as I make fun of that, it's just one of them things. All right, console. Do we use Peru or do we use Yay in this install? I can't remember. Oh well. Let's blow that up a little bit. Oh, still got something on the screen. So we'll just put that up there and try sudo peru betterfs assist ant. Oops, I can't spell assist. All right, we have the Git or the regular one. We'll just do the regular one. Oops. I forgot. AUR doesn't require. It's been a while since I used the AUR. I've been building a lot lately. It's where I don't use the AUR very much. All right, let's build this out. Takes me 5 minutes to see your comment. You know. Depends. Depends on the comment. Sometimes I don't see them at all. I have a lot of that selective vision. Alright. Now let's launch into this tool. I'm curious to see what this is. This might be the best tool of all. Alright. Root access needed. That makes sense. Wow. What? Let's just enable everything. Balance not needed. Subvols. Oh, that's cool. We do have some snapper okay. So Snapper is taking snapshots. So anytime something gets installed through Pac-Man, Snapper is installing it. I was like, I knew we configured it. I think the Snapper GUI tool is awful. Where this is so much better. That's pretty cool. Let's do a new snapshot. So let's take the install log. Let's just change some stuff. Yeah. Okay. So we messed up the install log. Let's see how good these snapshots are. So if you open that up, scroll to the top, you can see that's not right. So let's do a basic test here. Restore mode. And then let's restore. So it's doing a snapshot on boot and also a snapshot anytime you're doing an install or a build of a project. It's pretty cool. So that's how the ArchTitus is set up by default. Again, I didn't set that up. That was Austin that did that. But let's restore this manual snapshot right here that was done before we made those changes. So let's restore. Failed. Okay, well. Interesting. Backup path. Dot snapshots, fine with me. Enable timeline snapshots. No. Pac-Man. So this one's just doing Pac-Man for root. Backup path. Dot snapshots. So this, let's delete this one. Let's do a new config. Home. Backup path home. Save config. Save config. Let's do a manual snapshot. And now let's come into here. See what we got. Why not remove root to test? We can. That's the beauty of VMs. You can just go wild. You can do all the things that you're afraid to do on your regular box. So let's just take all this. Let's just make a bunch of noise at the beginning here. And now we have our manual snapshot. Let's go restore. Select home. And then restore snapshot. Well. Yeah, I created the config. I mean, it is still new, so I'm kind of interested in it. Did I save the config? I think so. Yeah, let's close, reopen, and then we can also try a reboot as well. Do sub-volume home, restore. You sure you want to restore snapshot home? Yes. Ah, okay, sweet. Please reboot immediately. So we'll reboot. Do we even need a reboot? Probably because, oh yeah, because the sub-vol ID changes whenever you do a restore. Let's reboot. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's not good. Okay. Still some bugs to work out there, guys. Yeah. That's some problems. Oops. Well then, yeah, let's just turn that off. We'll delete that. But neat. I'm gonna dive into that a little bit more. That was just a lot of fun. Yeah. Whew. Doggies. I totally messed up my system. I restored the incorrect. I probably did an incorrect config on the snapshot. I didn't read anything. I didn't see any documentation, which is a little bit scary. And I must have restored the wrong snapshot or created it incorrectly, and then it just didn't boot the whole system. I'm thinking probably because when I created the snapshot config, it did a snapshot of the home subdirectory or subvol, and it put the snapshots into the home directory, which I think was probably problematic. It probably needed to go under root snapshots and then been configured a bit differently. As you see, restoring the wrong snapshot will lead to an unbootable system. So don't think you should just go all willy-nilly with this, as that was not good. I just deleted the whole VM because I was like, okay, well, that's gone. I don't feel like messing with it, but I'll work on that a little bit more. Obviously, still some stuff to look at. I know the snappers being done automatically, but I'd like to use that BetterFS assistant. I think it just needs a little more polish, a little bit more documentation, and then the Gruta team I think is probably onto something. So thanks for that, Zero, for looking at it. Yeah. Is it possible to make everything on the screen smaller to fit content like macOS does? I like KDE Neon and my screen is 1366 by 7. I totally could see that, YouTube user. 1234. Love your name, by the way. I think that's awesome. Oh, man. Yeah. You can do some scaling. So you could scale it down since you're on such a low resolution. Yeah, scaling it down would probably be a better thing for you. Now that I'm looking at this, do I have? Speaking of scaling, let's scale that to fit a little bit better. All right, perfect. What's the fastest distribution for powerful hardware? I mean, pretty much any Linux distribution can be fine. It's just more about not bloating your system up. And no matter what operating system you're in, bloat is a consideration. If you're installing a program, that program should have a purpose, and if it stops having a purpose, it should be uninstalled. No matter what you're in, Linux, Windows, Mac, whatever it is, if you're installing an application and that application stopped being useful, or maybe it just becomes old and dated, uninstall it. De-bloat your system as you go. Prune your system to be performant. It's more about you and your interaction with your computer than it is the operating system. Yes, some operating systems obviously have a leg up because there's just less footprint. Like you saw today, we did Arch Linux with 133 megs of memory, which is ungodly low, you know, where Windows 11, what am I rocking on Windows 11 right now? I think it's, yeah, I'm using 6.6 gigs. So 6,600 memory compared to 130. Obviously, that minimal Arch install is going to have way more performance than my bloated Windows 11 mess here. So if I was doing a build, I would definitely want to do it on the ladder there. But it just depends on what your use case is. And just remember, your enemy is installing too many programs. That is just too much stuff running in the background is always a problem, no matter what system you're in. Clear Linux is actually not bad. I don't mind Clear Linux. I like the fact they're doing something unique with Clear Linux and how they manage their packages to their install. I don't particularly like the OS itself, but the whole distribution of Clear Linux. But I love the fact that they do things a lot differently than many other copy-paste distributions when it comes to Linux. You're new to Git? Yeah, probably. I've been using Git for probably about a year. So, yeah, I'm pretty new to Git. I know I made a video about it, but that was just like my rudimentary understanding. And if I could make it easier for others out there, and as I learn things, I like to make videos about it. Unless I'm like pressed on time, like I would need to get at least one video out a week. If I'm pressed on time, I'm just like, whatever, I'll just grab something, toss it down onto a video, and then that'll be my video of the week. And funny enough, usually those are the videos that do the best. Like it'll be something like simple, like how to install drivers in Windows or something like that, you know. Those real rudimentary videos are usually the best performers, which is funny. But good every once in a while. I'll sprinkle them. I'm a pretty variety of all tech content. How do you scale down your display? If you're on Linux, you can do xrandar and scale it down. Oh, that'd be great. Thanks so much, Zero. Appreciate the feedback. I'll definitely look for that, man. Because I'm sure I did something wrong with BetterFS Assistant. That was just like the first time opening it, and I just kind of pounded through how I thought it would do. It does look a heck of a lot better and way more user-friendly than Snapper GUI. Peter, hello. How you doing, man? All right, guys. Well, we'll end it here today. I thought that was a pretty good stream. We got through a lot of cool things. Hopefully, a lot of people understand branches, commits, merges a bit better in Git, as you got to see a real-world work through of creating a new commit to doing a push to your test branch, the merge back into the main branch, how we utilize these branches to make things so much better. And also just to kind of go through some of those commits, like you got to see ArchTitus really evolve from the community, really. And a lot of these commits, all those improvements you saw with like just airing over and selecting key maps and all that, that was all done by the community, not by me. All I did was look through the code and go, yeah, that works, and then commit. So I'll make a video tomorrow going over that, as this was just fun, but I might link back to this live stream in the actual video. So then if people want to see this full live stream, they can, and get some use out of it with a little bit back and forth. I know sometimes live streams just you know, hey, they go a little long. It's not for everybody, but hey, I just like getting the interaction with y'all and being able to talk and get live feedback. I think is the most important thing. That's why I do this every week. It's just so nice. And then I just love live streaming. And finding a way to do that on YouTube is always nice. So that's very good. But if you ever see me on Twitch too, I do live stream over there. I'll probably live stream after this. But usually I'm playing games or just kind of messing around over there than actually doing work, so to speak. But if you do see me, don't hesitate to pop in, ask me a question. I always like getting questions from everybody. And if I have something or you ask a really good question, a lot of times I'll pull up my notepad and be like, oh man, I need to look into those packages, or I need to look into that project when it's something that I haven't heard of, because it's so neat to get those. And it may just end up in a list of video ideas, but it's still nice to have a massive library of things to go to make videos about. I never have to worry about running out of ideas with everybody commenting and just chatting. It's so nice. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see y'all next week.